What up, Bulls Nation? Peck here. We got CHGO Bulls pregame for y'all right around the corner. Bulls back in action tonight, taking on James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and the Los Angeles Clippers. Josh Giddey trending upwards for the Chicago Bulls. We'll take a look at that. Vooch is going to sit again tonight. We'll talk about the impact his absence could have for some of the other young guys and the guys who arrived via trade. That's coming up next. Other kind of Giddey. What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome in to CHGO Bulls pregame. Coming to you from our studios here in West Loop, downtown Chicago. I'm Peck, Bulls_Peck. That's Big Day. Bow. BAWL Sports. And back in the saddle. Four-time NBA champ, Uncle Will_Perdue 32.
I thought my uncle's status had been revoked.
Why is that?
I haven't been here in a while.
It's, you know, uncles take time off sometimes. Uncles go golfing in Arizona where the sun shines.
Notice he came back when it's been like 54 degrees.
Yeah,
like, I'm back up in here. Yeah. What's up, guys?
And our producer, of course, the one and only Katie Duffy on the controls. What up, Katie?
Hi.
Queen. Quick programming note, we are pre-taping tonight's pregame because of Uncle Will's duties at the UC. Shaking babies, kissing hands. So this is right around 5 o'clock Central Time that we're recording this. So the injury updates that we'll go through coming up in a little bit are not exactly like minutes before tip-off, but we still do have plenty of who's in, who's out that are already official. So we will get to that in a little bit. But I got to say, I think coming into tonight's game, the Bulls ending their losing streak that had reached 6 games with the win over Philly on Monday, Dave, the talk of the town among Bulls Nation for the last 24, 48, 72 hours.
Yeah.
The talk of the town among Bulls Nation after the All-Star break has been the superb play of Josh Giddey.
Yeah, it has. I thought you were going to talk about their hatred of you and your feelings of Josh Giddey.
Oh, that's not new.
Okay. All right. Just
whether it's about my Josh Giddey takes or anything else, that's never been new.
That's a fair point. That's a very fair point. Yeah, and deservedly so. He's been the talk of the town. He's been amazing. Putting up big numbers, doing a great job rebounding. He did have 6 assists the last game, but the game previously he had no turnover. I'm sorry, he had 6 turnovers.
Correct.
He had no turnovers in the game before that against the Suns.
Right.
And he still put up those numbers. So he's been finding exactly where he needs to be. I think we've all said that Josh Giddey is good with the ball in his hand. Like, we all kind of understand that, and he's getting that opportunity to do that. So with guys like Io out and guys like Vooch out, like, he's been benefiting also from the injuries that have been occurring. But I'm not going to take anything away from him and what he's been doing. He's been playing very well, and I also like what he's been doing defensively as well. We haven't mentioned it. That's the best compliment I can give him, is we have not mentioned him defensively. And he just continues to keep showing up and playing very, very hard without fouling. And that's a skill, because young guys play hard, Dalen Terry, Julian Phillips, and they still get those fouls. Well, he does the same thing. He's Crash Bandicoot when he's going in there, man, and he draws those fouls. And, yeah, he's doing a really great job. I like what we're seeing from Josh Giddey these past few games.
You know, the interesting thing is you have to now ask yourself, okay, I'm assuming.
Do I feel lucky? Punk.
I was about to say, I was waiting for you to say punk.
Yeah, got to finish it. Yeah.
All right, Dirty Harry.
That's right.
Does this now, because of how he's playing, I'm assuming that this is what Arturas and Mark were hoping for, okay? Because you made it, to me, the most important thing that you said during that sentence was with the ball in his hand.
Bingo.
Okay? Not about how well he's playing. It's how well he's playing with the ball in his hand. So now how does that change the landscape of what it is we think we'll see in the future? Okay, because before all this happened, I wasn't really into he's in an evaluation stage because we know he's coming back. Unless, now, let me back up. I assume he's coming back. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made the trade.
Correct.
This isn't a short-term, borrowing a player type thing.
He would have to be real trash for him not to come back.
Well, the question is, how much does he want?
That's the question.
What is the price
He's
tag?
not real trash.
What's the price tag that the Bulls have assigned? And what are they willing to pay?
Yeah.
Okay. But at the same time, I hope that they let him go out and test the market because he is a restricted free agent, correct? And then match whatever offer he gets, much like they did with Zach LaVine. But that was not Arturas and Mark. That was Pax and Gar, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I think that they need to follow suit in doing that. But that being the case, I fully expect him to be back. So now how does that change the picture of what this team's going to be and the future of Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu? Because if you want to maximize the benefit of Josh Giddey, you have to put him in a position to where the ball is in his hands. Which makes listen, I don't think they re-signed Lonzo Ball because they saw him as part of the future. I think they re-signed Lonzo Ball so they could use him as a valuable trade piece to help match a salary. Otherwise, they're not. He's obviously more valuable than $10 million a year.
Yeah, if he's healthy. Yeah.
So I think so, and so far he's been healthy.
Yeah, he's really.
So I think right now that deal is a win-win. So the question is, how does the improvement of Josh Giddey affect everybody else in that vicinity? And when I say vicinity, I mean guards and small forwards.
Yeah. And look, I think the thing about Giddey with the ball in his hands and where this team plans on going and clearly bringing Giddey back being a part of that. And I agree with you and what you just said, Will. I've said it a million times. They should let him test the market. They didn't do that with Vooch. I think it was a mistake. They didn't do that with Pat. I think it was a mistake. Third time's a charm, AK. But
didn't do it with
Lonzo
or DeMar.
Oh, DeMar.
Right, yeah. So with Josh, I think when you look at his recent production with Zach LaVine out of the picture, with whether it be Kobe or Ayo or some of the other guards missing some time recently with minor injuries, Josh's usage percentage has climbed a lot over the last 8 games or so. And with the ball in his hands, he is the best version of himself. With that, you see the Josh Giddey who stuffs the box score almost every night. It's a version you saw in year 2 in Oklahoma City before the rise of SGA. And that, I think, is what maybe some Bulls fans might be wondering as far as if Josh Giddey finishes the last 25 games putting up the stat lines that he's been putting up recently, the Bulls might not let him test the market because they might even more strongly be convinced that this version of Josh Giddey is what they want to continue building with and around.
Yeah,
but then I have a question, though.
Go ahead.
So, a comparison of somebody he reminds me of because of his weaknesses, okay? Tony Kukoc.
Okay.
Because remember how efficient Tony was offensively.
He was.
But how poor he was defensively.
He was.
And he eventually got better.
He did.
But like you've seen, as when it becomes a half-court situation, teams seek out Josh Giddey. They look to target him. Sure. Teams did the same thing with Tony Kukoc. Okay? So the question is, moving forward after all what we just discussed, if you put the ball in his hands, everything that he does offensively, does that outweigh his weaknesses on the defensive end?
It's going to have to.
I mean, you could have, and we did ask the exact same conversation or question about DeMar DeRozan for 3 years.
Yeah, and we saw DeMar's defense. And again, when you're not good at defense, the biggest compliment I could give you is not talking about you and what you're doing defensively. And DeMar got to a point where if we just accepted it. We were like, all right, bro.
It is what it is.
It's not going to happen, but you go score 50.
Right.
You go kill people in the fourth quarter. You go win the game for us. With Josh Giddey, we're not on that level yet of him being that clutch kind of player, even on a Tony Kukoc level yet of being that clutch kind of player.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why these questions will still be asked and still come up about him. So, and I think they're fair. You know, you're evaluating every single thing about somebody who the Bulls might be looking at as the point guard of their future, or whoever you feel he's more of a point forward.
Mm-hmm.
However you look at it, he's the future of it, and that's how they're evaluating him. So when you're doing that, you're looking at all parts of it. And so I don't think it's wrong to evaluate that and to be critical of it or to give him praise of it when he's doing it right. And, yeah, I think the Bulls won't let him test the market. I think they're going to sign him because they haven't shown me they're willing to let the guys that they love do that. And when you trade Caruso for that, you've shown that just for that, you've shown that there's a love there for him. And I don't think they'll let him out the building.
Katie, do you have those splits on Giddey that we can take a look at real quick before we move on, just to give you a glimpse of what I was talking about with his usage going up and his production going up? So on the far left are his season averages, around 13 a game, points-wise, on respectable 45.7 and 37% from three, as well as his 7.5 boards, 6.5 assists. Classic, like, year two Josh Giddey and OKC kind of numbers. In the 8 games since Zach LaVine was traded, his scoring has gone up to nearly 20 a game. Look at the shooting splits. 52
That's
from
insane.
the field, 55 from three. Still pulling in 8 boards. The assists have dipped a little bit, but the scoring has gone up. And then, just a 3-game sample size, and I know Bulls fans are loving this 3-game sample size. After the All-Star break, he's averaging 25 a game on 58, 71. Hasn't missed from the free throw line. 13.3 boards, and the assists are back up.
You know, Will, I talked about after that Knicks game, when he had a good game and people were mad that we were like, he's playing a good game.
Yeah,
but
playing a good game.
We got to see more. I talked about how it was great, but I want to know what the baseline is for him. And I think about you when I say that stuff, because that's stuff that you would always hammer when we would talk. Mm-hmm. You would talk about, well, we know what you are at your best. Where are you at just on your day-to-day? That where can we know to put a pencil in, like, you're going to get this. This is exactly where you're going to be. You might get a little below. You might get a little high some games, but we know what we're going to be getting from you. My issue was I don't know yet. I still don't know yet what I'm getting from Giddey, because he's not going to shoot 71% from three.
No.
He's not going to be doing that. It's awesome. It's amazing to see, but I'm really trying to figure out what's the baseline of a guy like Josh Giddey.
I think first of all, you have to, I'm sorry, but this has to be part of the conversation. It's a contract here.
Yeah.
You can't ignore that fact. Okay. And as you just talked about now, what do we got left?
24.
Okay. I can promise you.
Not that I'm paying very close attention to that or anything.
Just from a player's perspective.
Yeah.
Okay. I can promise you that the fact that he's going to be a free agent and has nothing to do with the restricted, unrestricted, it doesn't matter. I can promise you he's having conversations with his agent right now about his value. Who are the comparisons? What do I want? What will we accept? Mm-hmm. What's the range? Because you can't help as a player looking ahead. But also your agent is telling you need to step it up. Mm-hmm. Because we need at least a 20-game sample size of you playing the best ball of your career, regardless of if the team's win or losing. Doesn't matter, okay? Yeah. So that when I walk in there, I can be, look what he did for you at the end of the year, look what had happened, look what the numbers were, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden that comp line goes up. Just like anybody that's ever bought a house, right? What are the comps? That house around the corner, one down the street, okay? For whatever reason, it sold for, $200,000 more than it was assessed and valued at, okay? That's why when I start thinking about this, I kind of think of it from a golf term. When golfers go and play in member guest and tournaments, there's a reason why you only play at 80% of your handicap, right? So when I think about what's the baseline? What's the normal? What's the average? Let's take 80% of what he's doing right now. And that's probably who Josh Giddey really is. Okay? But we saw, okay, now this is the thing. Goes back to our initial discussion. When he plays with a ball-dominant player, you see what happens to his numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happens, do you pay him as a guy that's going to be ball-dominant and you're going to rely on to do some things that he hasn't done yet, thinking that he hasn't reached his ceiling? Or are you going to look to pay him to play with another player who's also going to be ball-dominant, knowing that his numbers are not going to be what they are now, but he is still part of the equation?
This is interesting. So you're saying when they pay him, it will be based upon what they kind of build around him and not necessarily the players that can play with him that are already there, but the ones who can be built around
But that's
Josh
if
Giddey?
they have a bigger pitcher.
Okay.
Right.
Okay? Because do you think he's going to average those numbers if he plays with a player like DeMar DeRozan?
Heck no.
Okay? So that's the thing.
That's
He
interesting.
wasn't averaging those numbers when he played with a player like Zach LaVine.
Because
Right.
what they're saying is some people going to have to go. Like
And
that's what I'm hearing.
I think that's why Will was bringing up Kobe and Io before
That's
that.
why I brought up Kobe and Io, because also
You're not paying all three of those guys.
no, but also
No.
now you're talking about it's. Listen, I know people are gonna be like, "Oh man, you're thinking way ahead of yourself." But what's this team been lacking consistently besides a lot of things?
Oh my God. Yeah.
How much time you got, Will?
3-point shooting.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
as you talked about 2 games ago, he went 4 for 10.
Mm-hmm.
Last
Herter did.
game, huh?
That was Herter.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He went 4 for 10.
Yeah.
And then he went 7 for
7 for 9 or 8,
Something like
whatever.
that.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude was on fire.
So again, tonight's a big test. Next game. Okay, that's got to. Do I expect him to go 7 of 8, 70%? No. But this is a guy that's supposed to shoot better than 40%.
Yeah.
And if all of a sudden he starts playing like this consistently, now what?
Correct.
Because you know who's going to be here next year because of what they're paying him, and you know he's picking up his contract? Carter.
Javon Carter.
He's got what? He's on the hook for $7 million.
Around 7
6.
mil, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
He's not going to be like, yo, man, I'm going to give that up and test the water.
Continuing to just rack up them paychecks and DNPs.
I'm not mad at him.
Because, and like Matt and I were talking about before we came on the air, let's also not forget, Horter's got 1 more year left at $18 million.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. As does Collins.
Collins has another $18 million. And will next year be a year where they can contend for a championship?
Man.
I don't mean that to be funny,
Well, you're hilarious.
but I mean that to be that. So they're not going to go into the luxury tax
No,
to re-sign players.
because they've said the only way
They don't even go into luxury
is if
tax
they're
when
a
they're
good team.
flirting with being an actual competitive team.
Yeah.
So now you have
Top
to start
3 seed
thinking
they
about
gotta
what is the salary cap,
Mm-hmm.
and where does that put them in regards to trying to re-sign Josh Giddey, and then Kobe White, and then Io DeSumo, and then that's why you really need to look at this as a 3-year build.
At least.
I like this, Will.
And that's where we can go back to Goats, which turned into a statement, which turned into a passionate form of an argument.
Yeah.
He kind of talked himself into a lather when he talked about this should have been started over a year ago.
Yeah.
Some of us believe that. Yep.
He wrote a long article about it.
All right. Well, so getting back into tonight's action a little bit and talking about Herter and Collins and these guys who are here, we need to take a closer look at.
But this is and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is a good game because you and I had the conversation yesterday on the phone about this is a team that's in 6th place in the West.
Mm-hmm.
This is a game they should win.
Yeah.
So you do expect a full effort.
You do.
So the
Yeah.
thing I love about this game is this to me is a solid evaluation game.
Get out of my head, Will.
Because at the end of the day, when you think about the Philly game, you're like, I'm not even sure they showed up.
No, Philly did not show up. And that's what I was sitting here saying.
Matt
Like,
called it.
I'm not happy about the young guys playing well and actually getting real minutes because they did it against that.
You call him that a box of
A box of
corpses.
cadavers, I believe is how I referred to the Sixers on Monday.
Hilarious.
But yeah, so
Box of cadavers.
I
Hilarious.
agree. Well, this
Jesus.
could be an actual test. where the young guys are asked to step up and do more.
Yeah.
Vooch has been ruled out again tonight with that calf tightness. So we're probably looking at another Zach Collins start at the center position tonight, which we saw on Monday. Again, we're pre-taping this pregame. Hit the like, by the way. But that's what I would assume. Io, as of 5:20 Central Time, still questionable. He was upgraded.
He's been ruled out.
He has been ruled out. Okay, that's what I thought was going to happen because they flirted by upgrading him from out to questionable. He is out. Jalen Smith is out. Patrick Williams remains out. Herter and Collins both listed as probable with a quad and a shin, respectively. But so you're probably looking at another night where you're seeing real minutes for Collins and Herter because the Bulls' wing depth and front court depth is non-existent.
Yeah.
And let me say something about two guys you mentioned. P. Will should not play another game this year, in my opinion.
Yo, let's go. Let's go, Will Perdue.
That quad tendinosis is real slow.
And I don't mean that because I don't want to watch him play. I'm saying that because I want him to be 100%. He's coming back, regardless if you like him or not.
Yeah, he'll be back.
So he needs to be 100%.
Unless he gets lost in the woods, he's coming back. No one's trading for him.
I mean, he might get lost in the woods. I don't know.
He might, yeah.
You know,
things happen.
Makes a wrong turn on the highway, and who knows where you end up. But my point is that let's just let's not have any question. Okay, he's trying to push to come back, and then you're asking yourself, is he 100%? Let's just shut it down.
What's the point?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we all can sit here and honestly say with an evaluation, we know exactly who Patrick Williams is.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Literally saying this in arguments yesterday.
Does he still have potential? Yes. But he's also had plenty of time to live up to that potential.
5 to 6 years.
So I think at the end of the day, we know who he is. Mm-hmm. So why rush this guy back and chance doing more damage?
And you were just saying a similar thing to me before we started pregame, Will, about Vooch and this calf injury, whatever it is. We know who Vooch is.
You know who he is.
And there's other guys that need minutes to be evaluated.
Thank you, Will.
Not Vooch.
Thank you, Will.
So my thought was, and I mentioned it to you, was I think he should sit for a 2-week minimum. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, don't send him on that West Coast trip.
Mm.
And the West Coast trip doesn't start for another couple of weeks.
Is it that far out?
I think it's the middle of March when that trip happens.
No,
but my point out by then. My point was though, okay, Vooch played all 82 2 years ago, played 76, 78 last
76
year.
76 last year, yep.
That means something to him.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not sitting out just to sit out. I imagine if they came to him and said, take the night off, he would be, nope, not doing it. But this is an opportunity because of this, to me, says this is legitimate. Sit him out for a certain number of games before you even reevaluate. And I mean, when I mean that, I mean, it's just this should be an over-the-top situation. MRI, CAT scan, whatever's necessary, so you know 100% exactly what this is.
Yeah.
And then you understand exactly what the treatment process is, and then even then play it safe. It's like, when you have surgery and the doc's like, you'll be good in 2 weeks. I'm going to take 4 just in case. And not because I want to sit on the couch and eat Girl Scout cookies. But
I can't relate
not
to
that I
this.
don't.
The Girl Scout cookies I can relate to, yes.
Don't forget the milk.
Yes, never. Oh, it's the worst without milk. Need milk. Cookies.
I mean, yeah, there are guys that you theoretically should be taking a much closer look at down the stretch of these last 20-something games.
Yes.
And I think and the other element of this is the Bulls being very scared of the league. But, if Vooch is hurt, Vooch is hurt.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with saying we're going to reevaluate him and his calf in 2 weeks.
The
Bulls love saying they're going to reevaluate players in 2 weeks.
They love it.
It is right on their party line.
And they love saying we're going to ramp him up.
Don't say it.
They're working on ramping Vooch up already.
Oh.
They're going to reevaluate him in 2 weeks, but he's ramping up.
It's on the greatest
Everyone's
hits.
always ramping up. AK's ramping up to another extension. So when it comes to, use this opportunity with some of your vets or even your younger vets who are hurt or whatever to take a look at some of these guys. Yes, partly it's Collins and it's Herter who are under contract next year who just arrived in a trade and have been here for, not even a month. But it's also some of the younger talent that they drafted who have not been getting consistent minutes. And I want to take a look at this real quick because obviously we've been obsessed with the modest minutes. But we
Seriously, the
also
minutes.
saw Julian Phillips and Dalen Terry get some solid tick in their game on Monday against Philly out of probably just necessity.
Yeah.
So I was curious month by month how much they're playing. And what's interesting is obviously Modest, it's a pretty simple trend.
Yeah.
Started barely playing the first month of the season in October, 5.5 games. Then up a little bit in November, a little bit more in December, dips a bit in January, and then boom, February hits, Modest is playing 27 minutes a game. Julian and Dalen, there's no tracking it.
Yeah.
It's just like for Julian, it's kind of just somewhere between 12 and 14 minutes a game, month by month. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. And then Dalen, 8.4 minutes per game in October, significant jump in November and December, and then a significant drop off in January, and then even further drop off in February.
Yeah.
So, like, do you believe in these guys you drafted, or do you not?
Yeah.
Does Billy Donovan want to play these guys that AK drafted, or does he not? Now, the next X amount of games will be a pretty good opportunity to play them not 12 or 13 or 14 minutes, but 20 or 22.
Give him time. Let him get in there. Because you saw he gave Dalen 15. He had, what? Did he have 17 points last game, Will? I think that's what I saw. Did you see that?
Matt?
I mean, I saw it. No, I'm sitting right here, Will.
Did I not talk about this on the phone yesterday?
Right here. I wasn't on the phone. I wasn't there. Yeah, we can talk about it right here.
I saw your tweet.
Okay, just saying, man. Just 17 points, 15 minutes. It's just I'm telling you. I thought Dalen played great, but he's right. There's nothing you can measure this by. And let's factor in a few of the DNPs that Dalen got as well.
Yeah, there are
those
DNPs
guys got
in there,
here, man. Yeah, so there are definitely some DNPs.
Those numbers you saw are the games he's actually playing.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So, yeah, it's all I want is the development of the young guys. I just want their development. And I said this before the season started. If the Bulls end up in the playoffs and it's because of the young guys, I'm not going to be mad because that means they developed and they did good things. So I'm cool with win or loss as long as the young guys are getting out there. I'm not cool with, how it was, which was Zach and Vooch being the ones to carry you because they are not going to be a part of this future. Fine. If Josh Giddey is doing it, okay. If Modest is doing it, okay. If Julian is doing it, and we talked about how great he's been playing, yes, wonderful. Dalen, great. All those young guys. EJ Liddell, I want to see these guys in there.
That's who I really want to see play.
I'm dying to see EJ Liddell get in there and get some tick. He's been playing great in the Windy City, man.
Again, we're pre-recording pregame tonight, but he did get upgraded on the injury report, and he's not hurt, but just upgraded to questionable as a two-way player because of all the Bulls injuries that they are dealing with. We might see an active EJ Liddell tonight.
I can't wait.
Wouldn't mind that at all.
Not at all, all right? It's about the evaluation of those guys. Like you said, man, and this is what I was arguing with my man Bill on Twitter about. Shout out to him. This is what we were arguing about. I'm like, my man, it's about the evaluation of these young guys. We've got to see what you have in these young guys. Win or lose with them, I want to see what it is. And then you mentioned also what I was concerned about. The other guys, if they get healthy when they come back, what happens to the minutes?
Right.
What's going to happen to them? Will it still be consistent minutes for these young guys that they're getting now? They've got to take advantage of it now because Billy has shown exactly how he wants to roll.
If we believe in the track record of Billy Donovan being what it is,
you know what I mean?
Those minutes are going to shrink back down.
Hey, Dalen, come on right here, buddy. Come on, Julian, right back here. Kevin Herter, we rolling with you. You know what I mean? Lonzo, Ayo, we're rolling with those guys because Billy is going to roll with the vets. He's going to roll with his safety blanket. So, yeah, man, you got to take advantage of this stuff now. I'm glad they're getting out there now. And I hope they get more and more opportunities as this goes forward.
All right. Well, a few minutes left of pregame. Let's quickly just take a look at what the Clippers have been up to recently. The Bulls did get a win over these Clippers back on January 20th.
They did.
Guess what? Zach LaVine went off for 35
he sure
in that
did
one.
Went off. Yeah, he sure did.
There was also no Kawhi Leonard for the Clippers in that one. Y'all ready? Brace yourselves. Kawhi Leonard, active.
Wow.
Planning on playing.
Wow.
He has played just 16 games so far this season, if you want to take a look at what he's done, Katie.
Okay.
Very modest numbers. These are not, top 75th anniversary players all-time list version of Kawhi. He's averaging just shy of 17 points a game on very, modest but respectable shooting splits of 46 and 37.5, 4.6 boards, 2.8 assists. He has just been sort of a complementary piece to these Clippers while he has been available, which didn't happen until 38 games into the season or whatever. And it's mostly been about Norman Powell, who is out for the Clippers tonight. He is dealing with a knee. He's been out for the last handful of games. And then old Wiley vet James Harden got his 11th All-Star nod this
Shout
season.
out James Harden.
Has not been doing his scoring very efficiently, but still doing the James Harden setting up of his teammates.
Yeah.
And this team has also been largely hanging their hats on defense all season long. So between Harden and Leonard, the Bulls were going to have their hands full tonight.
And shout out Ty Lue as well, who's a great coach.
He's doing a great job.
What do you think is the most intriguing matchup of like who the Bulls will be trying to contain tonight, Will? Powell's out, who's actually their leading points per game scorer this season.
I think because of the fact that Katie's given us the 1 minute signal, I think it takes our whole pregame show perfectly to its end.
Which is?
We started with Josh Giddey. We ended with Josh Giddey because to me, that's the most Harden and Giddey.
And Giddey I think he was talking to our pal Cowley recently about taking on more difficult defensive assignments as part of his this Bulls team is not filled with all-star defensive players like we had in OKC, so I've got tougher assignments. And we've seen him, sink and swim, but swim more recently with some of his defense.
Well, it kind of reminds me of the Spider-Man meme. As you said, it's not the James Harden of old.
Right.
He's become a volume guy.
Yeah.
To be able to be that type of scorer. But you talk about a lot of similarities. It's Giddey and Harden. So, okay, here we go.
And, lest we forget, we can't not mention the big X factor the Clippers just brought in, Ben Simmons.
Oh,
after getting bought out by the Brooklyn Nets, Ben Simmons is now a Clipper.
LeBron stopper.
Reunited with James Harden,
yes.
the two Brooklyn legends.
It feels so good.
And he has been active for 3 games so far with the Clippers. He didn't play in their most recent game because I think it was a back-to-back, and he's still not doing those because back-to-back and his back. But in his 3 games as a Clipper thus far, off the bench, he's averaging 20, 22, 24 minutes, 8.7 points, 5 boards, 4.7 assists, 2 steals. Very Ben Simmons numbers, just sort of shrunk a little bit into a reserve role.
Yeah, Ben Simmons-y kind of numbers. Yeah.
Blah.
Yeah, I love Katie's analysis. Shout out to Katie on the WNBA. Talk
I
Chicago Sky.
was catching some of that Sky show with her and our guy Steven earlier today.
I showed up in the chat. You see me?
So did I.
I showed. Oh,
you must have showed up after me.
No, I saw you now. I saw you in there.
I saw you both in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Katie.
I gave Katie
Hi,
love.
guys.
I told everybody in the chat to put hearts up because Katie loves that stuff. And then everybody put hearts up and then I left immediately because my job was done. I spread love and then I got out of there.
You didn't spread love. You dropped a little gasoline and then.
No, that's love. I said that heart ablaze, Will.
Okay.
with gasoline.
With gasoline.
Speaking of dropping love, drop some likes on this pregame show if you've been hanging out with us here, and I hope you enjoyed it. Also, last quick mention, somebody on this Clippers team who has been playing a role player role from our dim dark past as Bulls fans. Chris Dunn is having a hell of a season as a defensive ace for this Clippers team, who are the 4th best defense in the NBA right now. 4th best defense in the NBA. Also, something Bulls need to keep an eye out for because we know it's been a thorn in their side all season long. Giddey, I'm looking at you and your 6 turnovers on Monday. Clippers, 2nd in the NBA behind only OKC in points off opponents' turnovers. 20 a game they are averaging off their opponents' turnovers. Yeah.
All right.
And are 4th best in the NBA enforcing their opponents into turnovers. So watch those turnovers tonight, Bulls.
Will Perdue says his thing.
That's right. We are out of time. Tip-off right around the corner between Bulls and Clips. We will be right back here for a live post-game show for y'all to break down what happens next. Will Giddey continue his ridiculous shooting splits of 60, 70, 100? Let's
Katie's
find
jacked.
out right now.
Katie's jacked.
Shout out to the queen of the controls, Katie. Make sure y'all are following our guy, Will the Goat Gottlieb, who is at the UC tonight, reporting the live action. Will_Gottlieb. We will talk to him in post-game as well.
Oh, I'm
That's
just
Uncle
giddy
Will.
for this game.
Big Dave. Peck, thanks for tuning in to pregame. Hit the like on your way out. See you, Red. Be good.
Love y'all, man. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.